Everyone, it's Kristen. So today we're going to be talking about Dazzler 14. And yes, that is She-Hulk on the cover. I know it's a little bit hard to tell, but it is She-Hulk. And then you guys probably don't remember this, but this guy, Blue Shield from Dazzler 5, he pretty much didn't make any appearances after Dazzler. Maybe just like a handful, but he wasn't a character that they like fully developed and fleshed out and actually used in, other projects. And so She-Hulk, when she was introduced in 1979 in Sensational She-Hulk, her first run lasted 25 issues. And us, yeah. So I mean, it it's pretty respectable for Dazzler for her series to last 42 issues, especially during this time for a female character, because not a lot of female characters, especially during this time, got their own book. Like Spider-Woman did, and hers, I think her first series lasted 50 issues, so she beat Dazzler in that regard. But yeah, not a ton of female characters got their own books. I mean, not like, today there's so many really good female characters. Not that Dazzler's not a good female character. You know what I mean. Anyway, it's just more common, I guess, for female characters to have their own series. Like in X-Men alone, you have Storm, you have Psylocke, you have Magic, you have Phoenix. Four female X-Men characters that have their own series. So, just saying. Anyway, so we start off and we see this what looks like a hitman, and he has a picture of Dazzler circled, and he has a bunch of pictures of a guy on his bed. So someone has hired a hitman, and Dazzler is actually headed to LA. She got a last minute, Harry actually managed to get her last minute gig, opening for Bruce Harris, who's a made up like rock star. Um, and when she gets to the venue, she found that Ken, her lawyer from the last issue, has sent her roses. And it says, "There's no defense against your charms. Lots of luck, Ken." Lawyer joke. That's cute. So basically, Bruce Harris says, because he hired them because his opening act band like pulled out very last minute, so he needed someone to replace them. So he basically tells her, hey, don't be discouraged if no one likes you. They're really here to see me. And you're just, the warm-up act. And so she calls him a conceited butthead, and he pretty much is. And you see that the sniper is in the audience. You see Lance, he's late. He runs past this group of guys. And then Dazzler, even though she's not, well, she's using her powers technically for the show, but look, she says her catchphrase, "Go for it." And so at first the audience doesn't care about her show, but they're kind of transfixed and in awe of her and the lights and just everything that's going on. And she thinks she sees like the reflection of a rifle barrel. And so she puts up a quick like strobe light to basically not deflect the bullet, but actually, like mess up the shooter's aim. And it it is messed up because instead of getting the guy, it just kind of grazes him and goes into the front. And this guy is Joe Cartelli, the Blue Shield, the head of the a New York crime family, and he's come out to LA because he heard about all the disruptions in this family, like or in the crime organization in LA. So he's looking to expand. So he changes into the Blue Shield once he realizes that someone was trying to kill him, and he confronts the sniper, and he's out cold. The guys who hired him see that the blue shield is there, and they're like, "Holy cow, the blue shield is here. What's he doing here? He's normally in, New York. Why does he do, what is he doing in LA?" So they're still trying to figure out what he's doing, but the boss says, "Well, I have a surprise for him. Like, I have something to take him out." And that thing is She-Hulk. Because apparently he found her from a car crash, dazed and confused, took her over to his friend Doc, who hooked up this like mind control contraption to her and basically made her his slave. So backstage, and they're talking about how they think Lance, the guy who ran past them and before the concert started, might be the Blue Shield. He has the same build. Anyway, you'll understand. So what they do is they go backstage and the goons come and capture Lance, kidnap him, and they take Dazzler with them for insurance. And he's trying to argue with them, "I'm not the Blue Shield." And so basically they bring them back to, their turf, and there's She-Hulk, she's waiting, and the boss says, "She-Hulk, destroy this guy. He's the Blue Shield." And she says, "He shall be killed." And so and Lance is like, "Well, you're just a girl. Like, I can take you." And she punches him, and he's out with one punch. Granted, it's She-Hulk, so she's like super strong, but still. So Dazzler realized nobody's watching her, so she turns on her radio and dazzles the guys, and they all, fall unconscious except for She-Hulk. Of course, she doesn't fall unconscious. And She-Hulk is like, "You attacked my masters. You must pay." So again, Dazzler has her skates on because she was, just performing not too long ago. They were backstage after the concert, after they were finished with their set playing poker. So she still is in her stage costume. So she uses, her skates and stuff to try to dodge. Um, oh wait, actually no. Oh, she hadn't put on her skates yet. Look, she's just in her boots. Anyway, you know, she dodges She-Hulk because of course that would hurt. She gets in this semi truck and She-Hulk just rips the metal off of the truck. I mean, to get to her. And she throws her against the wall, and Dazzler realizes her radio is busted. So she surprises She-Hulk by, kicking her, and then goes to the truck, turns it on, honks the horn in order, to charge up her powers. So she gives her this huge, like, dazzle blast, like, as much as she can. She doesn't say go for it this time. And She-Hulk is out. And so the guys see Dazzler standing over She-Hulk and they're like, "I don't know what's going on," but She-Hulk's out. So, and she apparently beat her, so we should, get out of here. And the Blue Shield is like, "Going somewhere, gentlemen." So he starts beating everybody up. And Dazzler remarks how, Joe is he's a good guy. It's just when he, he's just blinded by the fact with mobsters that he just feels like every one of these mobsters could be the one that killed his father. And so Dazzler's hiding. She's not sure what to do. She doesn't think the Blue Shield has even noticed her yet. And apparently, She-Hulk is awake. And Dazzler's like, "I better figure this out. I better get Lance out of here, get Lance, and we should get out of here." And so She-Hulk says, basically, "Thank you. Your light show, your dazzle burst, snapped me out of my mind control." And basically, Dazzler's like, "I gotta go find Lance." And she's like, "Oh, your friend? He, you know, he left already. He grabbed one of the goons' cars and he left." he hightailed it out of here. And She-Hulk also remarks that she didn't even punch him that hard. I mean, even though she was under mind control, she still, I guess, could, was enough in control that she wasn't trying to hurt him. And she says mostly he passed out from the fear, which kind of makes sense because Lance, he's a wimp. I mean, it like seems that sometimes like he's a hero, but he's pretty much a wimp. So, so anyway, yeah, so they get in the semi truck because they figure we should leave here because before the police get here because there'll be too many questions. So Dazzler's like, "Do you know how to drive that thing?" And She-Hulk is like, "Well, it's just a car. It's fine. It's no big deal." And so she drives through walls and she drives through fences and Dazzler's, "Oh my gosh, I should have been a lawyer. I should have listened to my father and been a lawyer. I'm gonna die." And She-Hulk says, "I'm a lawyer. I'm actually, a pretty good one, but then I got these powers and I decided it was more fun being She-Hulk than being Jennifer Walters." And Dazzler's like, "Jennifer Walters? Oh my gosh, you're like even in New York, you're such a like a legal calls her a legal eagle, a famous legal eagle." And She-Hulk's like, "Yeah, it would have, pleased a lot of people, especially my father, if I had stayed a lawyer." And Dazzler's like, "Oh, I can relate." And then they talk some more, and She-Hulk's like, "Where can I drop you off?" And so she drops her off at the theater, and she basically tells her, "You can't live your life for anyone else. You need to do what makes you happy." And she says to her, "Keep shining, keep singing, and trust yourself." And Dazzler says, "You too, and drive more carefully." And this is kind of basically the theme of She-Hulk is that as Jennifer Walters, she's pretty shy and just like focused and conservative, and then She-Hulk is a lot more daring and more fun and more just carefree. So, and then basically they get back to the venue, and the guy, Mr. Milton, who hired her and the band to be the opening act, he says, "I want to hire you to come back next year as the headliner. I feel like I have a good feeling about you. I feel like you're going to be famous, and I need to hire you now before I can no longer afford you." And there's Bruce, and he's not happy because he's used to being the star. And it says, next one is going to feature Spider-Woman, Jessica Drew. So that was a pretty quick issue, I guess. Like I said, it's fun though that they have all these guest stars in Dazzler because that brings more people in to read Dazzler if they see like She-Hulk on the cover or Hulk on the cover or you know Spider-Woman on the cover. I forget who else will be in the series, but I'm sure there will be more guest stars. Oh, and like Galactus, he was on the cover, like a huge villain in the Marvel universe, and he was in it. He was in Dazzler. So anyway, I hope you will join me for the next issue where we are apparently going to San Francisco and we're going to see Spider-Woman. So until next time, bye.